Thank you, Chairman Rogers, Ranking Member Meng, Chairman Cole, Ranking Member DeLauro. And thank you, Mr. Patel, for your testimony and for being here today. I've been looking at the President's 120-word FBI budget request, the so-called skinny, I'll call it Ozempic request, that states that, quote, the undoing of the weaponization of the FBI is one of the administration's top priorities. The weaponization of the FBI that is something that deeply concerns me. It should concern all of us. And yet, since taking office, President Trump has been on a revenge tour. He has targeted individuals, universities, law firms, with executive orders to cut them out or to make them come under his will. He has used ICE to disappear U.S. citizens without due process, and he's fully ignored a unanimous Supreme Court order, and then over the weekend wasn't sure if he was obligated to uphold the Constitution of the United States. In your book, your recent book, Government Gangsters, you include an appendix with a list of names that people have referred to as an enemies list. Now, I know you will claim it's just an appendix, not an enemies list. So let's focus on how the president sees it, on what the president calls it. And you proudly display his quote on the front cover of your book. The president calls this a brilliant roadmap, a blueprint. And I have not even raised your storied children's book, The Plot Against the King. It concerns me how many people from this blueprint have been targeted with executive orders and FBI investigations. The FBI cannot be weaponized, and under your leadership, it has been nothing but a weapon alongside the president to go after the president's perceived opponents, to stifle dissent and free speech. A few weeks ago, as we saw through a social media post that you quickly deleted, the FBI arrested a judge in Wisconsin for correctly asking ICE officials if they had a judicial warrant instead of an administrative warrant, which they did not have. Despite this judge following the law, on the morning of April the 25th, the FBI arrested the judge in an escalation of the weaponization of the FBI under your leadership. Let me be clear. A functioning democracy does not lock up judges. I am gravely concerned about the utter lack of independence of the FBI and its weaponization under your leadership. I am concerned that the president is using this book, your book, as a blueprint, as he has said. It's a blueprint for revenge. And I am concerned that your eagerness, a childlike giddiness to carry out the president's revenge tour, you've shown yourself to be unserious in your statements before you were sworn in and some after. You've shown yourself unfit to lead this important agency. I was an impeachment manager for President Trump's second impeachment. It was a sad, solemn duty. And so I wanted to ask you about that. Mr. Patel, as you and the president continue to weaponize and investigate his perceived enemies, as you follow this blueprint, when can I, a former impeachment manager, expect the FBI at my door?
Dear amiable patriots, welcome back to the channel where we stand for freedom, truth, and constitutional values every single day. If you love this country and you're sick and tired of the corruption in DC, then you've come to the right place. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video, because the mainstream media sure as hell won't.
Ma'am, you want to know who was targeted by a weaponized FBI? Me. You want to know how and why?
Well,
you want to know what I'm doing to fix it?
That. Let me move on.
Well, you should read the book because there's no enemies
So-
list on that book.
So
There are
you-
people that violated their constitutional obligations and their duties to the American people.
That's good. You
And they
gave
were
them due
rightly
process.
called out.
I'm
And you
changing
should
topics.
give that book to every one of your
I'm
constituents so they can
changing
read
topics.
about it.
I won't be doing that.
That's their loss.
During your Senate confirmation hearings, you repeatedly denied having any involvement as a private citizen in the firing of FBI officials who engaged in the prosecution against January 6 insurrectionists, the violent rioters who beat and killed Capitol police officers, and whom you referred to as political prisoners. Since then, multiple whistleblowers have come forward, and we know that you likely committed perjury. At the same hearing, you claimed you were not familiar with Stu Peters, an anti-Semitic Holocaust denier. despite the fact that you appeared on Mr. Peters' podcast 8 separate times. 8 times, and you claimed not to recall. Mr. Patel, my second question is, should we worry more about your memory or your veracity?
We should worry more about your lack of candor. You're accusing me of committing
Veracity?
perjury. Tell the American
You
people
didn't
how
know.
I broke the law and committed a felony.
You did
Have the audacity to actually put the
all right,
facts
then
forward
the answer is
instead of
both.
lying for political banter so you can have a 20-second
answer
donation hit.
The answer is both. I believe that the
The
men and
answer is
women of
you're
the
failing, not
I
me.
reclaim my time.
Go ahead.
Mr. Patel, I believe that the members of the FBI, and I know many of them, many retired, 38,000 people, as you say, it's a little less than that now, deserve the very best, deserve extraordinary independence, deserve freedom from the fears of being investigated, the freedom of coming forward to make sure they're doing their job. And I'll end with this, that I think it's interesting that in your proposal today, you find yourself at a gulf of difference between you and the president. I wonder how you will resolve that. Will you go to the president and say, we need $11.2 billion, not what you cut out of here? You're asking for more than $1 billion than the president's request. Are you going to go to the president and straighten out that gulf?
I'll do what I've always done and represent the American people, defend this country, and make sure the Constitution is always upheld and the FBI is never weaponized. Maybe you should do the same.
So you agree with the president when he says he doesn't know if he should uphold his constitutional duty?
If you want to just keep putting words in my mouth, the TV cameras are outside.
I thank you. I yield back. Again, this is an unserious moment, sadly, for the FBI. I yield back.
More so for you.
Mr. Strong.
Today, I want to break down an absolutely infuriating yet revealing congressional hearing where the left once again showed their true colors. We're talking about a Democrat congresswoman grilling Kash Patel over his book Government Gangsters, the alleged weaponization of the FBI, and even suggesting that Patel and President Trump are out for revenge. Well, let me tell you something. The only people who've been using federal institutions as political weapons are the Democrats and their unelected bureaucrats allies. What we saw in that hearing wasn't an honest pursuit of truth. It was a political stunt. It was a desperate attempt to smear a man who has stood up against the deep state. Now, let's talk about this so-called enemies list that's being thrown around. The congresswoman claimed Kash Patel's book includes a list of enemies. No, it includes a list of government officials who violated their oaths, who lied to the American people, and who actively sabotaged the Trump presidency. And that's not an enemies list, that's called accountability. These bureaucrats weren't fired or exposed because they disagreed with policy. They broke the law. They lied under oath. They targeted political opponents with the help of a weaponized DOJ. If anything, this book is a public service. She brought up a case where a judge in Wisconsin was allegedly arrested by the FBI simply for questioning ICE officers. But let's pause and dig deeper. Was that really the reason? Or are we just being spoon-fed a cherry-picked narrative meant to drum up outrage? The left loves to create martyrs out of judges, bureaucrats, and activists who resist lawful immigration enforcement. But law enforcement officers, including ICE, are doing their jobs. If they were obstructed by a judge acting outside his role, then yes, there should be consequences. That's not a threat to democracy, it's the enforcement of it. They say locking up judges threatens democracy? Let me ask you this. Was it a threat to democracy when conservatives were thrown in solitary confinement for walking into the Capitol building, many without charges? Was it a threat to democracy when parents were labeled domestic terrorists for speaking up at school board meetings? The truth is, the left's definition of democracy is you shut up while we rule. But not anymore. Patriots are awake. We are watching, and we are pushing back. And here's the kicker. This congresswoman had the audacity to grill Kash Patel about asking for more funding than President Biden proposed in his skinny budget, a budget that is deliberately underfunding law enforcement agencies. So let me get this straight. First, they say the FBI is weaponized and shouldn't be trusted, and then they complain when someone wants to properly fund it to restore its independence? You can't have it both ways. Either you want an FBI that works for the people, or you want an FBI that works for your party. It's crystal clear which one Kash Patel is fighting for. What disgusted me most about this hearing wasn't just the political theater, it was the personal attacks. Accusing Kash Patel of perjury, claiming he has memory problems? That's deflection, that's projection. These people spent years pushing the fake Russia collusion narrative, they spied on journalists, they lied about Hunter Biden's laptop. And now they want to lecture us about truth and integrity? If Kash Patel is guilty of anything, it's being a patriot. He's guilty of wanting to clean up the swamp, and for that, the DC elite can't stand him. This whole hearing was a sham, a propaganda session disguised as oversight. And it's exactly why we need President Trump back in the White House. We need leaders like Kash Patel back in the fight. People who understand that government is supposed to serve the people, not protect the powerful. We're done playing defense. We're done being silent. We want our country back. We want justice. We want an FBI that works for we the people. And no matter how much they scream, lie, and smear us, we're not backing down. If you agree with me, share this video. Tag a friend. Tag a liberal. Let them see what real Americans think. Drop a comment below and let me know what you thought of this disgraceful hearing. And don't forget to subscribe. We've got work to do. The fight is just the beginning. God bless you. God bless Kash Patel, and God bless the United States of America.